Ryan Kalage here with Epic Nature LLC in Amherst, Wisconsin, and today we're going to be planting perennials. This is our newest installation of permaculture, and this is part of a sustainable agriculture project we have going on the farm. And this whole garden here is all edible perennials and fruit trees. So let's take a look at what we have going on here. So we've got fruit trees spaced out here, and we also have the rhubarb underneath. And what this is going to do is provide a really dense garden here, so that you're able to harvest things all the way from right away in the spring to late in the fall. What we've done also is we've laid down some landscaping fabric and covered that with mulch, which is going to help with retaining moisture, and it's going to help with keeping down the weeds. You can also see we've got our drip line laid out here, which hasn't been installed, and we'll be using that whenever it gets dry out. So to maximize your space with the rhubarb, we're going 3 feet on 3 foot spacing on these, and you really only need one good shovelful. And all these little shoots coming up here need to be placed below the dirt. It's best to plant your rhubarb a little bit deeper than a little bit too shallow. Now from the top you can actually really see where the next leaves are starting to sprout out. And that's where you're going to want your soil level to come out. And remember that when you're planting perennials, it's best to leave it flush with the ground around it, or even just a little bit of a depression, so that when you're watering, your water doesn't just run off, that it'll actually sit by the plant where it needs it. We've got a row of chives that we put in here, and next to the chives we also have, this is dianthus, we have hollyhocks over here, and chrysanthemum in this bed over here. What's closest to you is just a bed of basil. That's not a perennial, but we had some extra space and some extra plants, so we put that in there. Some perennials can become invasive. One of those is mint. And we got mint growing in a lot of different places on the farm, and we just dug this up, and it grows in these, kind of rhizomes. That's just the white part that this would be growing underground, and these shoots come up. So your mint, if you're going to be planting that, you need to pick a spot that's going to be its own little garden. It can be with the rest of it, but just remember, this stuff is going to grow fairly rapidly out from wherever you plant it. So just be prepared to deal with that. Another perennial which isn't as invasive, but can take over an area pretty rapidly, is oregano. So we've got a bucket of oregano roots that we dug up from another section, and they're going to go kind of at the end of this. This grows in a really nice dense mat, so this will keep grass out of your garden. So if you want to border any type of perennial bed like this with oregano, this doesn't rhizome and grow as fast into your bed as the mint will, but it will also provide that kind of barrier between your lawn or your sod and the rest of your fruit garden. But this actually really smells. This is I mean, this is very, very fragrant. Mint is amazing. And one of the reasons we like mint is we found that we can companion crop it with other types of vegetation, like raspberries seem to work really well because they're a little bit different as far as their root structure. And there's another patch on the other side of the farm that it's all mint and raspberries. Almost nothing else can compete with it. And when you're picking the raspberries and eating the raspberries, you get this fragrance of mint. So it's almost like mint flavored raspberries while you're in the patch eating them. We got this pile of wood chips here delivered free from a local tree company. And sometimes it's as simple as just stopping and asking people while they're doing the work and saying, hey, can I get that delivered out to my farm? And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no. And maybe you just got to call the company itself and say, hey, what is it going to take? Can I pay for your fuel? You know, can I give you something for these wood chips? It's way cheaper to get them delivered to you directly from a job site than to go to a landscaping place and pay top dollar for this stuff. Here we have almost a semi-load of wood chips, and it didn't cost us a dime. So we're just gonna roll this out, and one of these guys is gonna throw some of this old corn stalk on it to try and keep it down, and then we're gonna come back and put the wood chips to keep it in place. Right. I mean, usually you'd want to just roll this out, but it's breezy today, so if you don't throw stuff on it right away, it'll be caught up in these trees and we'll have a mess. So this one actually has to go in the center row, and we've got all these trees in here, so we're gonna have to cut the plastic in a couple places to when we slide it over. Get a good fit in there. And this is why we have our plants 3 feet apart, because that's the size of our plastic. It's also the recommended spacing for rhubarb anyway, so it all just kind of worked out that this plastic's going to fit perfectly for our rhubarb. And this is going to be a lot easier than have to come in here with a rototiller or just having to keep putting mulch down every single year to keep these weeds from coming up. You like oregano?